Right, I did this for a Teach Week down in London, so it's something I've already done, but it was something that today came back to mind. Because somebody said they wouldn't take a risk if Ofsted were in their room. And I said, what do you mean you wouldn't take a risk if Ofsted were in your room? Surely, if Ofsted were in your room, you're doing the same thing that you do every day. And he said, yeah, but it might go wrong and I might get an unsatisfactory. I don't think that any classroom that's got a culture for learning could get an unsatisfactory, even if everything goes tits up. I just don't think it can happen. Because you are working with the kids and the kids are working with you, and there is a real culture of learning. So how, even if things go wrong, how could it be a bad lesson? So I wanted to show you a lesson, a typical lesson in my room, and I want to show you the results of that and sort of how our culture for learning works. So hopefully you'll get some little ideas from it anyway. Oh, I've already messed it up. Can't even press a button. Seriously, I can't turn off and I can't press a button. You wanted me to do this, Paul. It's your fault, okay? Right, so, has anyone ever been stung by a nettle? Yeah? Okay, everybody has that experience when you're a child, being stung by a nettle. Hands up who's been stung by a nettle recently? Unlucky. You usually learn from your mistakes, Paul. Okay, we usually do this as a child, and it's usually a childhood memory. Now, what I was leading into here was a poem, and it was a poem about childhood, and it was a poem about parents protecting their children, but I wanted to start with something that they could discuss. So it's over to them, and every time they come in, it's random question time. And that culture of learning comes when they know that they can answer that question, and it doesn't matter what kind of question, what kind of answers that they come up with. So from there, this is my only little bit at the beginning, just inspire them at the beginning, but get them to ask questions. And then I'll take them to my children. This is my little girl and my little boy, so this is Misha and this is Sammy, and this is all linked into the poem that we're about to look at. And I asked them, what should I protect my children from? The expected answers, nightmares, cars, burns. I did not expect what one pupil said. One pupil said, Miss, you should protect your children from Mufasa. Really? But again, it's about that no wrong answers. It's about that I am not asking you 2 + 2 and you come up with 5. I'm asking you open questions. And they came up with Mufasa. And there was a good reason for Mufasa as well. So Mufasa was, he explained, and this was a child who, when he first came into my room, was really, really quiet, really shy. And this is a kid who is now coming up with not only a random answer, but an excellent excellent explanation for it as well. So he said, you know, when you're little, and you're watching films, and then, you know, the dad dies in The Lion King. Do you realise that? My parents should have protected me from that. I was devastated, and I understood, because I've watched Bambi. And even now, when I watch Bambi, well, if Misha, my daughter's watching Bambi, my mum always says, turn it off, your mum's in. So, you know, it's like that lasting memory. But anyway, this is pretty much me. The first 5 minutes of the lesson, we're having a discussion, and then I read the poem Nettles in the voice of Mufasa as well. So that was quite impressive, I won't do it again. But then they're off. That's 10 minutes maybe into the lesson. And these pupils then, this looks staged, but they're enjoying poetry. Seriously, they are liking analysing a poem. When I was at school, my teacher told me to underline the similes. Didn't get why, didn't particularly care about the poem. What I was trying to do was I was trying to give them an idea and let them run with it. So they knew the basis of the poem, they knew it was about nettles, they knew it was about protecting children, then it was over to them. So I give them the tools, I let them use the computers, I let them use whatever's in the room, I let them, you know, they're great at discussion, but it's about creating that culture for learning. What they were doing all the way through was a little idea that you could take away from this if you don't take anything, if you don't go away and read the poems in the voice of Mufasa. I don't know what else you would take. But what they were doing was every time they came up with a new idea, they stuck it up on the board. So what they ended up with, I don't know if you can see that very well, but there, board full of ideas. This is the kid who pointed out Mufasa as well, deep in thought about his childhood there. But they come up, all new ideas go up on the board. And what they do with those ideas is then they take them down at the end. One of them takes responsibility for typing it up, and that's their revision resource for poetry. Hardly any input from me. Now I say hardly any input from me, remember it was about creating a culture of learning. Look at that at the end, sorry, just so proud, how much they come up with without me. But it's about the groundwork that goes into it. So when they came into my class in year 10, I've had them for nearly 2 years now, and I'm going to miss them so much. But when they came in, I put them in groups, and I expected, because they were top set, they were going to just work brilliantly. And they didn't. They messed about, and they threw things at each other, and they were ridiculous. And that's because they've sat in rows for years and been dictated to. Because they can, because they will sit still and they will listen. So I had to start from scratch. I had to start teaching them how to be effective participants in a lesson. And a great idea to do that is just take photos. Step back, take photos. But as they're learning, stick photos up on the board and just show them what they look like from your perspective. But it's about putting that groundwork in. It's about really holding the mirror up to learners and letting them see what good working looks like, but not being frightened of it. Again, take photographs of good work, take photographs of poor work, but don't tell them off. Don't say, you shouldn't be doing that. Let them learn what they should be doing. At the end of that lesson there, we had that group's work and the group before, and we compared them and we said, how did we get there? Is it because that person's smarter than you? No, it's not. It's because that person had their eyes down, that person was doing that, and we really analyse what they're doing. Wait to the end, look at it, don't tell them off, just teach them how to do it. I think that anywhere where you can explore, you can do this kind of learning. You can let them go. But you have to teach them how to do it effectively. You can't just let them go, put your feet up and have a cup of tea. You've really got to think about what good learning looks like and show them that. And this is just scientific proof that this is a good way to learn. So this is me, age 14. Remember that, Paul? Beautiful, wasn't it? Huh? Learning is shit, is what Mrs. Asher said when she was 14. Remember, she had to underline similes in a poem. That was an email on the day that I did that lesson from one of the boys in the class. We've got English Miss next. How excited are you? Yay! And I think that's scientific proof that creating a culture for learning is great for the kids, great for me too. Okay, and you. All right, hope that made some sense. Thank you.